Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at Big Shadow. This Shadow relies heavily on its huge Zeus drops, especially with Death Dragoncaller at 8. I do recommend you run 3 Zeus and 2 Dragoncaller. At this stage I only have 2 Zeus and 3 Dragoncaller, so the numbers I've just had them swapped around only because I don't have the 3rd Zeus, and at this stage running 3 Dragoncaller gives you an extra Zeus anyway, so it kind of works out. Running 3 Zeus though just makes it easier to use Gloomy Necromancer earlier, so you don't run into problems where you just don't have a Zeus to throw away, so that you can actually get it out on turn 8. Otherwise, I love this deck, it's great fun. You are pushing to get to at least turn 6, turn 7, where you can use your Odiel or Underworld to really stall out until 8, where you want to drop your Zeuses, and then just swarm the board with Soul of Death and the Dragoncallers until you win. That's pretty much the idea, dropping those huge threats as quickly as you can for as long as you can. So we'll get right into some games and check it out. Okay, and our first matchup had to be Daria Runecraft, all the same, but pretty sure this one is a burn rune, not 100%. Sometimes I wonder with these rune decks on what they could actually be, because some of them are quite a surprise when you play against them. Okay, so we're pretty much just going to spam stuff as soon as we can, dropping out the Lurching Corpse, dropping out the Skull Ring, getting things onto the board, trying to make sure that we can dominate the board space in the early games till we can get to the mid game. Not too worried about hitting face, because that will come later when Zeus wants to drop. Otherwise, we should be completely fine. We do have 1 Dragoncaller already, and a chance to drop the Skull Ring. Not worried about this Lyrial yet, just because they haven't really dropped anything else, and we can use Necro Assassin next turn to double ping these if we need to, but looks like they're going to do it for us. That's pretty much fine. I mean, it does suck a little bit, because I would have preferred to have been able to keep both these skeletons, but I'm really not too concerned by that. And at this point, I am just pinging that so that they don't have an Earth Sigil on board, because I don't want them to get extra value. So I can just get that pinged off the board. And we know we're going to have a Lurching Corpse next turn anyway. And an Evolve is going to be killed by Soul Squasher if I ram a couple things. So really, I've got a few different options I can play with here. Nothing too concerning. That 4-3 is a little difficult because we don't really have a way to deal with it. Not yet anyway. And lucky for us, we do get Demon Eater. So with Demon Eater, a Zombie Party, and the Skeleton, we can actually clear the entire board, draw enough cards to set up for hopefully our Zeus turns, which shouldn't be too far off at this point. It would be nice if we could have had Zeus sooner. Being able to do it on turn 2, for example, is always perfect. If you can't get that, then you are looking to just do it before 8. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard just to kill your opponent. We did get another Necro Assassin, which is pretty good. I like getting those Necro Assassins. From here, we're just going to pretty much ping damage to their face because we can. We don't really have any other reason to do it other than that. We are going to be able to drop Underworld, which is another fine thing to reanimate all of the time. It's a great stall card until you can finally get those Zeuses into your hand. And with Pure Hearted Singer, we are going to have another chance of drawing. So I do like that we are going to have that opportunity. And we can actually go for a huge play if we end up killing that Pure Hearted. Which Necro Assassin is great. So there is the Zeus, which is kind of what we want. Not right when we need it. I mean, it would have been nice to be able to drop Death Dragoon and just, you know, just go for it with the dragon. And then just Zeus their face, but if we have to hold out till 10, it's not impossible. This is where stuff like Underworld comes in handy. They are going to have to remove some of my stuff so they don't risk losing themselves. And we get to trade with that pretty nicely. This deck does have a bit of trouble against other like mid-shadow decks, and I would say that's probably the worst matchup I have faced personally. Dragon, it wasn't too bad. And most of these other decks hasn't been too bad either, just because you can use Ceres and stuff to heal. Underworld Watchman heals, so you're not worried about Burn Rune too much. Getting the damage isn't too difficult. And resummoning isn't hard either. So we don't really have much to play other than Kawi here. We can get rid of one of these rats, which is actually great because the rats could put us at huge risk later on. But we do get So Death, Reap Life, so if we play Zeus and it dies, we can drop So Death, Reap Life, or Dragon. Either one will do just the same thing here. Of course, Mage of Nightfall, they're setting up as much as they can, which isn't going to matter when I just throw Zeus onto the board, especially now that we've... Well, actually, how did I miss that? Now I look at that, that was a huge misplay on my part. I should have actually just evolved the Kawi, went face, threw the Zeus down, went face, and I would have had lethal. Instead, I decided to go for the trade, thinking of clearing the board first. Which, I mean, I would have won anyway, but that was just a, yeah, stupid thing to go that way. I should have went the other one first. Next up, Sword. Sword is always a fun matchup at the moment, because you never know what to really expect. You are expecting some form of Arthur variant and a mid-rangey kind of thing, but I have seen a few different kind of cards in each Sword deck, so it always piques my interest when we see an interesting Sword deck thrown around. Definitely not the strongest of decks, but a fun one to see. So we get Lurching Corpse on the board early. We've got Gloomy Necromancer, which comboed with Zeus is actually super good. I probably actually should have went that way instead of throwing out the Lurching, but I felt like Lurching was just going to be better at this point in the game, because Sword does tend to dominate its early game pretty well. And it was fine to use Gloomy on 3 here instead. Especially since now Zeus is actually dead, everything that I want to use can take advantage of it, and quite easily dominate my opponent in the late game. So we get the Necro Assassin, we've already got Lurching Corpse, which is going to allow us to do double kills on turn 6, or we can actually just use Black Swan.
At the speed of lightning, the legend begins.
You are done for.
Just the words I was waiting
So
for.
Perseus, Evolve, Trade, not too much of a worry. We've got our Lurching Corpse, which is going to ping something here. Hitting the 3/3 was the actual better thing to hit. And we've got plenty of ways to deal with stuff and draw cards now. And we got Dragon Call, which allows us to Zeus on 8. I think Dragon Call is an amazing card.
Weapon at the ready, youngling.
So we do have a chance to just throw Lurching again. Do another Demon Eater, draw a couple more cards. Will put us to 8, which means we've got one more slot that we can actually draw on, which I think for me is fine. And we also drew the Underworld and can drop Soul Squasher. I mean, Soul Squasher could have been saved because they do have the evolve points, but I think we've got more than enough removal at this point in the game to deal with everything that they can actually play. So now it's just a matter of keeping this stable for this turn, because next turn we're going to be dropping Zeus, and we're going to probably follow up with Zeus as well. Could have dropped Underworld, this is fine, killing off the whole board, leaving a nice body on board to have to force my opponent to deal with as well. Always feels good, especially when you get to play the Black Swan. Lux Solar Lancer, aiming for obviously the commanders they're missing. Of course, Juliet. So this is more a storm-orientated deck, I would say, just judging by the Juliet. And now we have triple Zeus, so I'm afraid that's probably going to end up lethal to them, because dealing with 3 Zeuses in a row is going to be super difficult. Because I can literally just throw Zeus to their face. They have to clear this. I throw another Zeus, and then I throw the 3rd Zeus, and that would be lethal. If they don't clear everything here, that is. If they clear everything here, then I have to wait. Otherwise, I could have just won straight off this. Just ramming the 2 damage and a 7 Zeus. But they do manage to clear everything, which is fine. Zeus does the job just fine too. And now we are looking at a 2-turn setup over these next one, like this turn and the next one. Then we may as well hold on to the evolve for the next turn, in case we need to evolve the Dragon Caller and get over a ward, which is unlikely, but always possible. It looks like they are going to force their way through this Zeus, but they also need to get rid of Dragon Caller or they're dead anyway. So what has our opponent got here to surprise me with? Juliet. Just perfect for them. Still not going to be enough because another dragon is just going to wreck them. And we drew Zeus as well, so having another Zeus, more than enough to go for lethal there. And our last matchup is another Rune deck. Rune is still one of the top 3 decks. I think you've got Mid Shadow, Ramp Dragon, maybe even PDK Dragon to sit along with Ramp Dragon. I've seen that be pretty good lately, so maybe, but definitely Ramp is up on that top tier. And then of course Burn Rune is also sitting up there, mainly because they work as a kind of trifecta, kind of not trifecta sort of thing, where they kind of counter each other nicely. At least in my experience. But my Shadow deck here, which is being collected from, I think, I'm not sure whether it's Card Turtles originally or whether it's Spiky Bits, but either way it's one of their decks, so of course that's who the credit original goes to. But it's definitely a fun one and enjoyed playing it. So we don't get to do much here. I do just Scullering. We did get the early Zeus off, which means the Dragon Callers are already useful. We can make it into Ceres turn 4, then all we need to manage is to push through to turn 7. So turn 4 through 5 through to 6 is going to be the hardest ones, but not the worst ones. I mean, we're not going to see much from this Rune player, and them playing Pure Hearted leads me to think that it may be a Neutral Rune. And that definitely makes it look more like a Neutral Rune. You don't see a Neutral Rune every day, which is why this fight was very interesting. 2 decks that you don't see a lot of, Big Shadow and Neutral Rune. Both pretty Zeus heavy spam decks really. So we get Gloomy, which is completely fine. We also get the Iris, which I get to actually use as an evolve here. Which means all the cards in my hand are now gaining draw a card, so we actually got 3 extra draws off these. As long as they survive. So they do decide to ping it. They get to trade into this and deal 1 damage to my face. Not so lucky for me. All I've really got is Scullering, which feels really bad, especially since I'm probably going to have to waste an evolve just to get rid of this 4-2, so I'm not taking too heavy damage. But once we get past this turn, turn 7 through 10 is going to be absolutely crazy. Just because we can drop Dragon Caller, Sow Death, Reap Life. And if we're even luckier, we get 2 Sow Death, Reap Lives, and we go for double Zeus on 10. 20 play points of value in 2 cards is amazing. So they do all that, no real issue. If I drop Cowie here, they've got to remove it. If they remove it, I heal a minimum of 2, assuming they use a 3-3 and a 3-1, which is what that looks like they're going to follow up with. So I get to wipe their board there and heal. Whatever they throw down now is just going to be collateral damage for this Dragon Caller. And Pure Heart Singer along with Alice. Just, that doesn't feel that great. Throwing those 2 down on their own like that, ugh. Really don't like that play. But I do get my draw, which is good. We do end up with the extra Sow Death, Reap Life, which means we can actually start pushing for a lethal. I mean, Zeus this turn, Zeus next turn, and then double Zeus is 20 damage. Which should be enough to kill them, provided they don't end up healing or just dominating me. And they go for a full clear, which if I drop another Zeus next time they can also get rid of. But even in the worst case that they clear it without having to worry, I am not going to take lethal damage in this turn. Even if they drop their own Zeus, I mean, worst case, I'm not taking that much. And next turn is lethal because double Sow Death, Reap Life. The worst thing they could have done here was trade a 5-4, 3-2 and the 2-2 all into my Zeus and then have to make me deal with it. Because the play they went for here has left them open to double Zeus. Which after seeing 2 Zeuses, you would think you would kind of expect to see at least 1 more coming up. But I guess they were planning further ahead, trying to avoid me winning. But double Zeus, 10 damage, they got 8 health, that will clear us for lethal quite nicely. So I've really enjoyed this deck, it's been a lot of fun. I think I'll probably keep giving it a go, at least in the future. It's got some potential to it, and maybe with a little bit of alteration it could deal with other threats such as its own mid-shadow matchup, which is quite difficult. Otherwise it's just great. I enjoyed playing it. I definitely wouldn't say it's top 3 worthy, but I would say you could easily slot this deck into a tier 2 sort of section quite nicely. So again, credit goes to either Card Turtle or Spiky Bits. I'm not sure where this originally came from. Behind that, they're the only two that I know that were running this deck easily. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Check out the deck list in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.